Hi everybody, this is Miss Nicole with Bloomfield Public Library, and this is my latest edition of Science Bytes. And today I've got a really fun topic for us. It's a difficult topic sometimes to talk about, but the demonstrations are super easy and super fun. We're going to be talking mostly about centripetal force and friction, two very important forces. And the demonstrations I have for us, like I said, are very simple. I'll first do a little definition of centripetal force. Centripetal force literally means center seeking. If we had, for example, a ball and we pushed it forward on a very flat road, as long as there is nothing in its path to stop it or alter it, that ball is just going to keep moving in a straight path. We provided the energy to move it forward, and it's just going to keep moving in that one path forward endlessly if there's nothing to stop it. Now, if we tied a rope to that ball, what we're going to find is when we apply energy to get it moving, it's going to move in a circle. With that rope pointing towards where our hand is, our hand becomes the center of that circle. So that force is center seeking. It's going towards our hand, and we're forcing that ball in a circular path. So that's sort of a rough description of centripetal force. So I have the perfect demonstration for us to do this with, and it's very simple. All we need is a penny and a balloon. And ideally, you want to try and get a clear balloon. You can buy them in bags like this. You can buy full bags of clear balloons. I usually go to something like a Party City where they have a lot of balloons. And a clear balloon looks kind of like this. Looks a little yellowish, but once you blow it up, it actually becomes clear. So we're going to stretch our balloon out a little bit just to loosen it up. And now I have a sack of pennies. And it doesn't matter what your penny looks like. You probably want to go with one that's a little shinier and smoother than an old penny, only because it's going to have less gunk on it, and any extra stuff on your penny might not make it work as smoothly as a shiny penny. So you're going to take that penny and you're going to stick it inside the balloon before you blow it up. So I'm going to push that penny in right there. So now you can kind of see the penny inside. And now this is important. While you're blowing up the balloon, you want to make sure you're leaning forward and blowing up the balloon. You don't want to hold up the balloon like this to blow, just to make sure that the penny doesn't slip out and you don't choke on something. So always make sure you're going to lean forward and blow up the balloon. And you do not need to blow it up super huge. If you blow it up really big, you're going to stretch out that balloon. You're going to stretch out the polymers in the latex, and it's going to make the balloon much thinner. You want to make it so that you can easily hold the balloon and it's a little sturdier. You want to make it as sturdy as possible too, so it lasts longer. So now I'm going to blow up my balloon. If you have trouble with this, you can ask your mom or dad or somebody at home to help you with it. And that's about as far as I'm going to blow up this balloon. In fact, that's probably even a little bigger than I need it. I'm going to let out a little air. There we go. I'm going to tie it off. And again, if you need help with this one, I'm sure there's somebody in your house who can help. So now, my penny's inside the balloon. The trick to this demonstration is you want to move your balloon in a circular path. And you're going to see that penny moving around the balloon. Inside the balloon, we don't have a lot of things creating friction. It's very smooth. And the balloon itself is going to force our penny in a circular path, kind of like a rope on a ball would have forced the ball in a circular path. So watch this. Let's see if you can see it. Even when you're doing, sometimes you have to get it going a little bit. You can see how I'm sort of smooshing it, but you get the right circular, you can do it like this too. And you'll see that penny moving around inside you can even see the track that the penny makes, because most latex balloons have some powder inside. So you can even see the path that the penny's been taking inside the balloon. Now, there's some other forces besides centripetal force that are at work here. This is one of those all-you-can-eat buffets of science, because there are so many things that this is demonstrating. we do have some friction, and that eventually affects the penny. There's not a lot of it, there's very little, but there is a teeny bit of friction inside the balloon, and there's also gravity. So eventually gravity also starts to tug on that penny, and that's why when it ends, the penny's resting at the bottom of the balloon, because gravity and friction have finally brought the penny's circular path to an end. But now I'm going to show you a really fun demonstration that really has to be done outside, because it takes a little practice, and until you get it right, things tend to go flying in all sorts of directions. So you have to do it outside, but I'm going to show you a really fun demonstration of centripetal force. Okay, so I've moved myself to my front yard, and what I've got now are 3 plastic cups. They're actual plastic cups, and I have a special board that I actually bought this as a kit, but it's a board that has strings, that has holes drilled into each corner, knotted on the back, and when you hold it, looks like this. Now what I'm going to do is put these cups on the board, and I'm going to swing it around in a circle and show you some centripetal force in action. Now this is one that does take a little practice. It's not the swinging part that's difficult, but when you want to make it stop, you have to let your arms sort of absorb some of the motion, or else things just go flying. So we're gonna give it a shot. Let's see how I do. And as you can see, all of my cups stayed on the board. That was centripetal force in motion. So when I was swinging it, I'm gonna put that glass there. When I was swinging it, all that center-seeking force was going towards my hand and the ends of these ropes, and it kept that board with the cups moving in a circular path. But now I'm gonna do a little additional challenge. I'm going to put some water into the cups and see if it still works. And hopefully my mojo is still good and I don't actually dump anything on my head. So we'll see. Let's give it a shot. Looks like I did a pretty good job. No water on my head. Now that was definitely a classic example of centripetal force in motion. Now I'm gonna do a variation of our spinning penny, our penny in the balloon. And this one is actually called the screaming balloon. And we still have centripetal force being demonstrated with this one, but we're gonna add a little friction and see what that does inside the balloon. Now for this one, you do not need a clear balloon, although you can use a clear balloon. The important thing with this one is the sound. So I'm just gonna use a blue balloon. I'm gonna stretch it out a little bit. And now, what we're going to put inside this balloon is a hex nut. And you may or may not have seen these before. They're usually sold in hardware stores. They're very cheap, and they're not very expensive. And they're shaped like a hectagon or an octagon. I forget how many sides are on it. But it doesn't matter necessarily what size you get. Some of them are teeny tiny. Some of them are a little thicker and bigger, like this one. You don't want to go too big or thick because it'll be hard on the balloon. But what we're going to do is, just like with the penny, we're going to put this hex nut into our balloon before we blow it up. So I've put it inside my balloon, and again, as a reminder, you want to make sure when you blow up the balloon, you're leaning forward. You don't want to tip this up towards you and start blowing, because there's a chance that hex nut will slip through the balloon and you might choke. So always make sure you're leaning forward when you blow up your balloon. Here's my balloon. Just like with the spinning penny, you don't need a big balloon. It actually works easier if it's a little on the smaller side. You're going to use that same swirling motion to get the hex nut moving around inside the balloon in a circular path. But because the edges of the hex nut are not smooth, we're going to get some friction and see what that does to it. Ready? Did you hear that sound? Now, you'll actually hear a difference in the sound with how fast you spin it. The faster the hex nut goes inside the balloon, the higher the pitch of the whine. The slower it's moving, the lower the pitch. So we'll do a gentle one just to see the lower pitch. And then we'll pick up the pace and see how it gets higher. We'll start low and we'll go high. Now that's a really fun one, right? I love the screaming balloon. It can annoy your parents, but it's still a lot of fun. So I'm gonna do one more demonstration that gives us a really good look at friction. Okay, so here we have the demonstration I wanted to do in addition to the balloon for friction. And this was part of a kit that I got at a conference, but this is one that you could easily replicate, although I do recommend using plastic plates so you don't break anything while you're practicing. But what we've got here is a tablecloth, and the key to this tablecloth is that there is no hem. It's just a straight piece of cloth. You can also kind of tell because the edges of it are a little bit frayed. I'll show you from this end so you see. There's no hem whatsoever, so nothing to create additional friction. And I have a plastic cup, and a plastic bowl, a plastic plate, and real silverware, so a real spoon, knife, and fork. Although maybe you don't want to use the knife. This is just a butter knife. But the key to this trick is definitely the tablecloth and how you pull the tablecloth. So you want to make sure when you're doing this that, again, you don't have any breakable plates, and that when you're pulling the tablecloth, you don't pull up and out, but you pull straight down as quickly as possible. And then you are going to see the classic trick of pulling the tablecloth out from underneath the place setting. And I'll show you myself doing it in slow motion so you really get a good look. But again, this is something you could redesign at home, but I would do it with empty plates, make sure they're plastic, and make sure that your tablecloth has no hem. That's very important. It's just a straight piece of cloth and material. And you pull straight down. So here we go. Well, that's it for our latest edition of Science Bytes with me, Miss Nicole. I hope you all enjoyed it. Today we did centripetal force and friction with a little bit of gravity thrown in. We did our spinning penny demonstration and our screaming balloon. And I did a couple of fun little demonstrations on the side to show you some neat little tricks I have for both of those topics. So I look forward to our next edition of Science Bytes. Be sure to look for our playlist on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Bloomfield Public Library, and you'll see all of my Science Bytes videos there. And you can also find them on our events calendar on our website, bplct.org. So until next time, thank you everybody. Goodbye for now.